Let's
recording.
Go, guys.
Welcome to Movie the Podcast. That's right, Movie the Podcast. It is Palentine's Day. That's all buddy cops, all the time. The most romantic month of the year.
I love this title, by the way.
It's wonderful.
Brilliant title.
And we watched just feel-good buddy cop movie. Just a four-quadrant, real tent-pleaser, narc.
Not to bury the lead, but Joe Carnahan gets extra bonus points for making what's already a sad story, like the
infinitely sadder.
Story. Like at the end, it's like, oh, you think that's sad?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
You think that was sad?
Right. You think that's sad?
I loved it. This could be a big shocker.
This movie bangs relentlessly.
This movie, within the first 15 minutes, was like, oh yeah, this movie goes real hard. And as I was watching, I was like, it continues to go real hard. I know we have mixed feelings on Joe Carnahan here. Well, maybe I'm the only one. And yeah, maybe I'm the only one with mixed feelings.
We'll talk about it. I like him. I just don't think he ever lived up to this potential. Like, I don't think he's ever made.
This was his magnum opus, and he opened with it, or came very close to opening with it. But Boss Level fucking rules.
This isn't his first movie.
I think
no. Blood, Guts, Bullets, and Octane, and then doesn't Smoking Aces predate this or no?
No.
I thought Smoking Aces was after this.
Now I saw Blood, Guts, Bullets, and Octane forever ago because it was like one of those. Is
that any good?
It's fine. It's a Tarantino clone.
Yeah,
in black and white.
It sounds like it from that fucking title.
But yeah, it was part of that explosion. But it was also one of those like $10 prepaid video cassettes. So,
right.
Yeah. Like that I bought.
Yeah, Narc is 2002, Smoking Aces is 2006, and Joe Carnahan, American, born in Michigan, he looks impossibly Irish.
Oh yeah, well, I would assume Carnahan is Irish.
Yeah, but he just looks like he's just Irish. He looks like you know what I mean?
All right. Well, let's get into
that.
Let's get out of Goggs' weird race science or whatever he's doing over there.
No, you can't. It's not racist if it's a country.
Correct.
Thank you, Sean.
I don't know. Goggs can somehow figure out how to make it racist.
Oh, no doubt. If anyone can.
Well, how come Jews are a race? They're considered race. Like, right?
Well, because they're Jewish.
Jew is not a country.
Israeli is a country. Irish is not a race.
It could be. Go to St. Patrick's Day in Boston and tell them.
Tell me there's not a theme here.
They're actually POC, Irish people.
People of Killarney. POK.
All right, what did you all mooks watch this week? I'm going to pass the mic to my main man, Alec. He's got to unmute his mic. Or he's probably, there he goes.
He's protesting.
Good for him. Irish.
Yeah, we don't appreciate it being called POK.
Only we can call ourselves that.
POK. Yeah, Alec is the most Irish on this show.
No, I'm having issues with my audio thing, but I think I figured it out.
Yeah, Gog sent me some virus before the show, so I had the same problem.
Well, did he send it to you in the biblical sense?
Yes, actually.
Oh no!
I got an email for you, TJ.
Click it.
Click my email. Click my attachment.
I sent a virus to your email and a virus to Alex Hot Tub. That's how I'm screwing up this stream.
I mean, my hot tub does have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Baller.
My hot tub's got Bluetooth. I can control the temperature from my phone.
Hell yeah.
Set it real hot before I get in.
Uh-huh.
Cool it down if it's too hot. That's about it.
That's about it. That's all it does.
But
still pretty cool. Better than my hot tub.
Yeah, more hot tub features than TJ's.
Yeah, I don't got a hot tub at all.
Yeah, I can't even do that with my house, let alone a hot tub.
Oh, the house is easy. You just got to get the Ecobee.
Yeah.
Anyway, I watched two movies.
Two movies? Two things?
Two movies. One was pretty good. One was fine.
Mm.
The one that was pretty good that I liked was Jerry and Marge Go Large.
What is that?
I'm not familiar.
It's a It might have been an Amazon or a Paramount original, but it's got Bryan Cranston and Annette Bening.
I like them.
He's kind of forced into retirement, but he's also like a touch autistic and like really good with numbers, and he figures out a way to scam the lottery.
Oh, wow.
So they find this one game that has a flaw in it that they can exploit, and they win like millions and millions of dollars doing it. And then they get everybody in the town to contribute money towards it, and they start an LLC. They just keep like basically the whole town is like running off this lottery scam company.
I like that.
It was pretty good. Like Bryan Cranston is always good.
Yeah,
How old is it?
He's got a show coming out that looks pretty interesting.
It just came out last year.
Okay.
It would not have made my list. It wasn't that good, but it was pretty good. He had a show just come out where he's like a judge or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's actually been out I think the first season's been out for a while.
Oh, really? I just thought
it's a Showtime show, so I only see ads for it like very rarely.
Right.
Yeah, it was okay. Jerry and Marge Go Large. Like, it was fine. The other movie I watched, which I was actually really disappointed it wasn't as good as I thought it would be, the new Netflix movie with Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy called You People.
Oh, yeah. That just came out this past weekend, I think.
Yeah. Like, those trailers are really funny, and, like, it's fine, but it's not great.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect. It's perfectly cromulent.
Perfectly cromulent film.
Is it too safe, or what's its problem?
No, it's not too safe. It's just, I don't know. Like, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. It just didn't quite do it for me. Like, the trailers are fucking hilarious. Like, I thought the trailers were...
Yeah, the trailers are pretty funny.
Were fantastic. Jonah Hill is a Jew in Los Angeles who ends up through a series of misadventures falling in love with a black woman who is Eddie Murphy's daughter. And Eddie Murphy is like a militant Muslim.
Okay. I love the setup.
And like I said, like, it's fine. Like, it's not terrible. But I think it was a little too long. I think it was 2 hours. It's a little too long. And not quite everything lands. And there's bits between Jonah Hill and I can't remember the young lady's name. I think the two of them wrote it together. I think they co-wrote it and she directed it.
Yeah, that's what they said in like one of the trailers I saw.
So it's like, look who's coming to Ramadan.
Ooh, you're sitting on that one, huh?
Sean liked it.
They meet the families meet fairly early. It's not like they don't find out what's happening until the end. Mm-hmm. But then it's just like racial hijinks between the families because his parents are Julia Louis-Dreyfus and David Duchovny.
I mean, that's pretty funny. I like that.
And her parents are Eddie Murphy and Nia Long.
Oh,
maybe? Is it Nia Long? I want to get her name right. Yeah, Nia Long. And there's all kinds of like racial hijinks between the two. Because Eddie Murphy he knows the family's Jewish, and he wears a kama. Is that the hats that they wear? The Muslims wear, or
kufi?
Kufi. Yeah. He wears a kufi that was given to him by Louis Farrakhan.
Oh, okay.
To the Jewish family's house. Yeah, and then she accidentally burns it, and they have an argument about who had it worse, the Jews or the blacks, over the course of history.
Oh, fun.
Sort of related. Like, I was dating a Jewish girl that lived in Park Heights and went over Passover one time, and I broke her family Seder plate that had been in their family since like the Holocaust. But in my defense, like, who keeps a baseball in their kitchen? I was bouncing it off my bicep. You do that? You ever do that move where you bounce it and then catch it?
Oh yeah.
Ruined Passover.
That's because you're built different.
Yeah.
You are built different. There's some funny scenes. There's some funny bits in there that are good, and like I feel like Eddie Murphy's kind of had kind of a career resurgence the past few years.
Oh sure,
The Dolomite movie's great.
That Dolomite
movie was fucking tremendous. Like
really good.
Like that should have got awards. It was so funny.
I never saw that.
It was excellent.
You would absolutely love it.
It was so good.
Like there's a scene where I guess I must have missed this setup because Jonah Hill must have told him that he plays basketball in this park and he's like so good, and Eddie Murphy just kind of laughs at him and takes him to Inglewood and like just drops him at this playground with all these huge black guys playing basketball, and he's trying to film him to like embarrass him. But then Jonah Hill's actually really good. He's like just dropping dimes on everybody.
That's funny. That's a real Ryan Johnson joke.
Oh yeah, he subverted Eddie Murphy's expectations. But it's fine. Like it was a little shorter. I probably would have said it was pretty good.
I feel like most comedies can not be 2 hours long, you know?
Yeah. It's a little too long.
Yeah.
But that's it. We finished the season of Beavis and Butthead that's on Paramount right now. It's fucking absolutely goddamn fantastic.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah, you do. TJ.
I'm PJ. I watched two things.
Two things?
Technically, the one thing that I watched last week, but I watched it twice so I could talk about it this week. I watched, the first thing I watched, the thing that I watched twice was Duel. Riley Stevens, that's his name, right, Sean? Stearns, close enough. The guy that directed Faults, and he also directed The Art of Self-Defense. It's his latest movie. It came out in 2022. I had it on the Plex for months, and for whatever.
It was my number one movie.
Yeah.
Because we still haven't posted the award show, right?
Yeah, we posted it last week.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up.
Is it YouTube?
I listened to
YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Bluetooth.
Okay.
It's very long.
Yeah, it's like 4 hours long.
It's very long. It's fucking great. Like, I fucking loved it. I love that guy's movies, and like, this is probably his best movie. I don't know why it took me so long to fucking watch it. But it's fantastic.
Part of the reason why it took you so long is because last year it was chock full of good movies.
It really was.
That is true.
And I
like it might be one of like the best years I can remember. It didn't not a lot of like blockbuster smash hits.
Yeah.
But lots of really good stuff all year long, like
and
big movies, little movies.
The Oscars are terrible. Like the nominations this year.
Did Avatar get nominated for Best Picture?
Yes. Which,
oh my goodness!
I mean, that's all you need to know.
Well, didn't they make a rule that like if you make a ton of money, you have to like?
Of course, that's not a rule. That's not a fucking rule.
I thought it was a rule.
No.
Like the new rule.
They were talking about adding like a
last year best
popular
like a People's Choice. Yeah.
Last year,
I thought that's why they expanded to 10 people or 10 nominations.
Last year, a fucking Apple Plus movie won Best Picture that like 10 people saw. So
I'm not saying winning. I'm saying you're getting nominated because you made a shit ton of money.
I think
what movie was that?
Coda.
Oh, that was
It was fine.
I didn't see that. I did want to see that.
It's right along the lines of like Lady Bird and other like. It's good. It's not great.
Dogs, I think what you're thinking is kind of like the general consensus is that they changed it to 10 nominations, so those movies will get nominated, the popular ones.
Like fucking Maverick doesn't deserve to be Picture of the Year, but it made almost $1 billion.
I mean, I still haven't watched it, but I would willing to bet it's better than Avatar 2.
Still torrent.
But anyway, getting back to Duel, and it's funny because the other movie I watched is also about fucking clones. Man, it's really good. I really love how he writes a movie, and it's dark and it's funny and it's like kind of weird and it makes
he's really weird because his movies are super dark but also incredibly silly. Like it's a strange tone.
Yeah, and it's something that I remember when it came out, a lot of film critics that I actually like weren't very, like, they didn't dislike the movie, but they were kind of cold on it. But I can definitely understand, like, if you don't buy the tone that he sets for these movies, which again is very odd. Like, if you can't accept, like, his kind of weird, stilted, everyone talks like a manual dialogue, you're not gonna dig it. And if you can't, like, I mean, he's able to, be funny and depressing and introspective, and it's all done in this very odd kind of tone. But I loved it. I thought, what's her name? I always want to call her Amy Pond, but
Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, yeah. She's great. Breaking Bad's, is very good. I can't remember his name either.
Aaron Paul.
The Logan Paul's other brother. Aaron Paul is really, really good. Everybody's good in the movie. I mean, there's really only like
the scene where
3
it's
actors
like,
in the fucking movie, but
where she's like, perhaps instead of money, we can work out. And
don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it, but that shit is so fucking funny.
Yeah, there is one of the best payoffs ever where you think it's going to be like for sex, and it's the most ridiculous fun thing ever. And also, like, probably one of my favorite parts of the movie is, so the basic premise is, if you don't remember from when Sean said it last week, is that Karen Gillan thinks that she doesn't think, she has what she's told is a terminal illness, where it's funny because they do the same scene in that fucking terrible Don't Look Up movie that I hated last year, where they make there's no such thing as 100% chance joke, and they do it again in this movie, but it's actually like funny because they're like,
you hated them? I thought you liked that movie.
No, it was cringe as fuck. I couldn't stand it. I enjoyed the movie's message. I just thought it was like very sloppily delivered, and
I have to pull the tape on that one. I remember all, because I don't think Sean saw it.
I did not.
You can pull.
I thought me, you, and Gogs all, to varying degrees, but all at least I enjoyed it a little bit.
No, I just thought, like, I don't know. It's like heart's in the right place, but it's like, I don't know. It was just kind of a mess.
The terminal illness she has is so hysterically gory. Like, it's hard to even describe how funny it is.
Yeah, but she thinks she's gonna die, so then she finds out that there's this procedure where you can get cloned, and the clone will, take over your life, and basically your family won't have to deal with the loss of you dying, because you'll have this clone that takes over your life. Well, she finds out eventually that after the clone has been produced, also the clone is produced in what did they say, Sean? Like 20 seconds? Like, and it's like fully formed, like there's no explanation. It's just like, boom, like fully formed.
No, it's like you said, if you're not with it, like immediately you will hate the movie.
Yeah, and there's no explanation ever. And it's great because so she finds out again, the doctor tells her that there is 100% chance, and she's like, well, there's no such thing as 100% chance. Well, in this case, there is. No.
The joke is, I'm sorry, I don't want to step on it, but the joke is it's a 98% chance. It's like, oh, so there's a 2% chance of it. It's like, well, technically we have to say that, but I'm telling you 100% you will die.
Right, but then when she comes back, she's like, well, I did say there was a margin of error. But, anyway, so she finds out she's not going to die, and then it becomes like, she's going to decommission the clone, but the clone is already kind of taken over her life, and the clone wants to live. And then she finds out that there's this law where if the clone wants to live, they have to face off in a duel, and there's your fucking movie. But one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is the guy explaining to her the law about the duel is like, well, we can't have two of you around. That would just be absurd. Like, that's literally the explanation. Like, it's not any more than that. It's just like, well, we can't have two of you running around. That
would just be silly.
I think he says silly is the word. Anyway, I loved it. I believe it's on Hulu, but it's also on the Plex. Any all, like, besides Sean, want to watch it? It's very good. I also watched the new Brandon Cronenberg film, Infinity Pool. I loved it. It's real early in the year, but if this isn't in the end of my year list, I'm gonna be shocked. I fucking every weird scene that this movie was selling, I'm buying. This movie is so fucking out there, and everything that I like about Brandon Cronenberg movies, like, just like it's got the violence of Possessor, it's got the weird out there concepts that Antiviral had. It's got, it's shot really well. I love the performances in this movie, and I love kind of the, like, without spoiling a whole lot in this movie, like, there's a lot of, like, role reversal in this movie. Like, basically, you kind of are set up to believe that, Alexander Skarsgård is the main character, and you think he's going to be this kind of strong, protagonist, but he kind of turns into the, like, final girl of this movie in a weird way, and he's kind of this, he's not this tough, strong guy. Like, obviously you think of something like the Northman, like, he kind of is this kind of wilty coward, and that's kind of like the whole point of the movie, or one of the points of the movie. The movie is about how bad the rich suck, which is a sentiment that's in a lot of movies I've been watching lately, which I really love. But yeah, this movie is fucking wild. Apparently there's an NC-17 cut, but I don't know what else he could put in it, because this movie was graphic as hell. And in a weird way, usually the MPAA, they usually stamp down on violence. Like, they have they usually stamp down on, sexual stuff. And this movie is very graphic in the sexual stuff. And usually they're not too keen on that shit. And I don't know, I was surprised with what he could get away with in an R-rated movie, but I fucking loved it. It's fucking wild. It's a wild fucking ride. And I think it's going to be interesting when more people see it and kind of the discourse around it. I'm always interested in that. Because I feel like people generally, like, even, like, people that aren't, like, huge, like, fucking art weirdos like me, liked Possessor. Like, I think Possessor was generally, like, well received. But I also think
there's a lot of action in Possessor, too.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of action, but I also think the narrative is pretty clean. Like, it's weird, but I think, like, it's a pretty easy to follow plot. Like, it's weird, but you kind of get what's going on. This movie is kind of ambiguous, and, like, even the ending is kind of, like, left to interpretation, and it's a lot more about, like, kind of themes than anything. Like, it's more of like a ride. Like, but I fucking loved it. I can't wait to watch it again.
If I have to hear another TikTok with Mia Pearl saying baby, like, baby, I'm going to cut my fucking ears off.
She's really good in the movie, too. Also, great cans on Mia Goth. I don't know where she's hiding those things. She must have.
What did I call her?
I thought you
said Mia Pearl, but she's in the movie Pearl.
Well, she's in the movie Pearl.
Ow. Were you thinking of the supergroup Mini Pearl with the Raphael Sadiq?
He probably
Lucy Pearl. Mini Pearl was like a country singer.
Yeah. But anyway, I loved Infinity Pool. Go watch it. It's great. It's probably going to be in the theater for like a week, but I thought it was awesome. Just fantastic movie. So yeah, that's all I watched. Gogs.
I watched two things. One old, one new. We'll talk about the old one first, and the new one second. The old one was Jim Wynorski. No, it's the Aliens.
Chopping Mall.
I watched Jim Wynorski's Triumph Chopping Mall.
I love
that movie rules. I don't know. If you haven't seen Chopping Mall, it kicks an unmitigated pile of ass.
The premise of that movie is so stupid.
The premise of that movie is dumber than dog shit. The fact that they had to have not just malfunctioning mall security robots that are armed with lethal weapons, but sentient. Like, there's malice of forethought in this movie. It's not like they're just like, go kill. Like, they're like planning it out.
That's a great name for a death metal band. Malice of forethought.
Well, just the idea that the petty theft at this shopping mall is so out of control.
Right. Like, this is OCP levels of extra for trying to defend this mall. But it is a lot of fun. I was watching the I don't know if you guys have recently seen Chopping Mall, but it has a normal band of cast of characters of young horny teenagers looking to have a mall camp out sex party,
Yeah.
And one of them, as someone I was watching with it described, is his entire personality is what Tom Cruise looks like chewing gum. And after he said that, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
I can't. You guys are gonna have to help me, but I watched the first time I ever saw Chopping Mall. It was at the Charles, I think.
Okay.
And they had a double feature with Chopping Mall, and then there's a movie where, what's her name? She's super hot. She has dark hair. She was in Labyrinth and Jennifer Connelly. So there's a movie where she also stays in a mall overnight. Like I can't.
Oh, Mannequin?
Do you know what I'm talking
Or not
about?
Mannequin. The Target movie. It's
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I watched those two movies back to back, and it was quite an experience.
Yeah.
That movie wasn't as good as Chopping Mall, but I just remember
very few movies are.
What an odd theme to a program, like people staying
in a building.
Retail stores. Yeah.
They could also play Dawn of the Dead, both of them. Chopping Mall rules. Everyone should check out Chopping Mall. That mall is bonkers, and no one ever thinks. Actually, you know what? I was gonna say no one thinks to run upstairs, but they do, and the robots figure it out. And there's some great stores. The stores in Chopping Mall are the
impossible.
same. They're the same stores from the Dead Rising universe, where they just have you walk into the sporting goods store and there's just Lucy guns everywhere. It's a ton of fun. And then the other thing I watched because my kids were all jazzed up about how much fun Matilda was. We watched the other rolled down
movie.
movie.
The Boy in the Pajamas.
No, we watched the BFG, which it turns out
the big fucking giant.
The big fucking giant. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Starring, I guess. I don't know if
I guess.
I guess I don't know. I don't know whether you consider him like a friend of the show or mortal enemy of the show. Mark Rylance, as the titular big friendly giant.
I think he's on both ends of it.
I wouldn't call him a friend or enemy of the show. I don't think any of us ever talked to him.
Oh, that's fair. Good point.
He's pretty good. I mean, he's good in stuff. He was really good in that.
He's good in Ready Player One.
There it is. He's one.
He was good in that
Dunkirk.
He was good in that Bones and All movie. I should have talked about that too, but he was really good in that.
The movie's fine. I don't recall I don't think I ever read that Roald Dahl book, but the ending of the movie is kind of batshit insane because that giant ends up trying to defend the English against the rest of he's like the runtiest giant, and the other giants are all like full on Attack on Titan, eat people all the time giants, and he's a vegetarian, but then he can capture and manipulate dreams. So the end of the movie is, and this is
of course he can.
This is how the movie ends. So spoiler alert for 2016 Steven Spielberg gem BFG. He concocts a specific nightmare to inject into the brain of the Queen of England, which upon waking, she finds this young girl on her balcony and then meets the giant. The giant has brunch with the Queen, gives everyone fart soda. Everyone farts. And then the Queen orders a full-on Tom Clancy tactical strike against the land of the giants, and all of the meat-eating giants are netted in Pavlov-style helicopters and then dropped into the ocean like the body of Osama bin Laden. And that's how the movie ends.
So it's basically like Inception.
It is wild.
This is a movie for children?
This is a movie for full-blown children.
For
Steven Spielberg's BFG.
Kids.
It was weird. I can't recommend it, but it is strange. So
I can't recommend it, but it is bad.
Yeah. So that is all I watched. Sean.
Nothing. Just some foosball.
Nice.
Good old foosball.
Did you catch any of the highlights of the Royal Rumble?
I did.
Pretty good.
No.
Okay. Logan Paul is going to be the next big WWE superstar.
Logan Paul's midair collision with Ricochet was
I've seen the memes.
Amazing.
It was a pretty good event.
Really incredible. And the work they're doing with the Bloodline storyline is
it was awesome.
I think I'd love it, but I see some people say it's some of the best stuff they've ever done.
Holy shit.
And I mean,
it was really
they're considering they've got this story going for over a year now, or close to a year, and it's still going well. It's really good.
Oh, and the three of us the matches were over, and the three of us stood in silence for 15 minutes to watch the plot develop before we left.
Hoping Sami Zayn would hit Roman Reigns with a chair. And he finally did, and we all went fucking ape shit.
Yeah. Did Liz yell at you all the Amanda Nunes Chris Cyborg fiasco?
No, we were at Alex's house.
Oh, okay. I mean, Liz has put up with a lot, but that was like the one time I think she had finally had enough.
I mean, whatever.
It was 3:30 in the morning, and we were screaming at the top of our lungs, and there was a baby.
It's not our fault that Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, beat Chris Cyborg.
It's really her fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're cheering for women, Liz. Support her.
Girl boss.
Yeah.
Wash your elbows or whatever.
Wash your elbows.
Wash your elbows. Well, we found a Sean kink tonight. There's
clean elbows or dirty elbows?
Those elbows better be shiny.
Oh, I'm like a fucking Leland Palmer, just yanking people's arms up, like, go put some cocoa butter on those elbows, Laura.
Your elbows are awfully ashy.
Shout out mid-90s Black Twin Peaks. Sorry, Darnell Rawlings as Leland Palmer.
Hell yeah.
The joke for one person.
I know. All right, Cogs, what movie did we watch, and what happened in this crazy movie?
Can we briefly, before you even start, let's talk about Alec is 4 seconds into the movie, and we get a text of like, oh, this is not good. Ready?
He did like the shaky cam. He didn't say it's not
wrong,
good.
Because
to be fair, I don't like it either.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was jarring. I didn't realize how jarring it was. Like I had like my whole vision full of it. I was like, I might get a little sick.
I am also going to go ahead and say that this movie, for me anyway, overcomes, like, I don't like a lot of his, like, editing choices. Like,
it seems like the editing trickery goes away pretty quickly, because there's a lot of, like, weird shit up front that just kind of dies off.
Yeah. Once it calms down, like, it's fine, but it also kind of reminds me of, like, I feel like it's kind of a product of its time. Like we were talking,
it's very new metal-y, like, but not as cringy as like Dracula 2000.
But it's got that DNA.
It's traffic syndrome, right? It's in filters, blue filters.
Well, it's also like we were talking about this. I think we were talking about this before. We were talking about like Seven. It's still got a little bit of that like Seven stink on it, like that.
It was the Attitude Era of movies.
Fincher, like hyper cutting and shit. Like it's not, and I think like again, like the script is so good and the performance is so good, it gets past it.
Normally I hate those blue filters, but because of like not only the subject matter, but how cold temperature wise the place is that they're in, I feel like it kind of works.
I don't have a problem with the color.
No, I had no problem with any of it.
The color palette, I just don't like I said, we'll get into it, but I don't like some of the editing choices I found kind of tedious, but we'll get into it.
All right, so the movie opens with like an incredibly frenetic run and chase scene with movie the podcast alum Jason Patrick, the standard Detroit junkie, and it is like there's no soundtrack. It is just huffing and puffing, running and chugging. Fucking this dude is going full speed, like tweaker juiced out. He gacks a dude in the neck with nuke or whatever they're doing nowadays.
It is nuke, pretty much.
And that guy that's like, there's like, this is a incredibly brief scene, but there's this half a second pause where Jason Patrick's looking at this guy on the ground, realizes there's nothing he can do for him. You see this look in Jason Patrick's eyes of just like regret and dismay. And then he picks up and keeps running. And then you have the same guy runs up to this playground, grabs a kid off the slide, and holds another needle to the kid's neck. And Jason Patrick just goes time cop and like blah, 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 blah. And he catches dude in the nose. Kid's fine. But then you see that he winged the kid's pregnant mother in the hip.
Yeah.
And
but I love the shot. Like, well, not the shot, but like the way the scene is shot, because it's done so fast, and you're not, like, you don't really know what happened. You just see the guy go down. Like, at first, you're not sure if he hit the kid, if he hit, like, who he hit, and it's, like, so chaotic. Like,
well, you think everything's okay because the kid's fine, and then you find the mom who
I disagree. Like, everything, like, it happened so quick. Like, I didn't know what the fuck went down, because, like, you hear her screaming, you hear the kid screaming, like,
right.
I don't know, I thought, like,
I must have missed it, because I did look away for a minute. Does he not shoot another kid on the way, on the chase, like a teenager or something?
No.
Like, okay.
No. There's a guy that the guy stabbed, like the junkie stabs, and that guy's like right. choking with blood. It's fucking disgusting.
But like, that guy's like Chekhov's bystander because he comes up later.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're treated to like an inquiry where Jason Patric's being asked by a tribunal about what happened and how it went down. He's been suspended. He's at home with his wife and son. And they're like, all right, we want you, here's the deal. You hear about this cop who died. It happened 2 months ago. We've got no leads. We know that, he was deep underground. He was deep undercover narcotics for like 2 years or something like that. They're like, people, if you help us close this case, we'll get you a job. We'll reinstate you. We'll give you your job. We'll give you a job back. Homicide. He wants a desk. He doesn't want to be out in the street anymore. He's done with it. So he's like, fine. And they're like, all right, well, here's the thing. First he says no. And then, I always get this guy's, I always get
the guy that's that
Shay McBride.
Oh no, it's not that.
That's a different guy. Shay McBride, right? That's the guy.
Yeah, it's Chi or Chai. I don't.
Chai.
Yeah.
The guy from Waiting.
Yeah.
The guy from Boston
Public. Yeah.
Boston Public.
And let's go to prison. I think
Undercover Brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no, he was in some prison movie though.
Let's go to prison.
Let's go to prison. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Dak's.
You never want to stay home and drink toilet wine anymore.
Yeah. So he's like, listen, man, I need your help here. I'll do whatever I can do. Blah blah. And he's like, look at some files. They're trying to silence the lamb and just look at some files. So he's like, fine, I'll do that. But he looks at it. He's like, here's what I know. Dude was like, he's in deep. He's a mess, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what happened? There's not enough. This one guy, Henry Oak, seems to be all over it. They're like, listen, this guy's like he's a cop. I guess he is a cop.
Crooked cops.
Right. Like he's not the cop the city deserves, but the cop the city needs right now in the captain's eyes. Like he closes cases. He's a he's a loose cannon.
But you're introduced to him literally. He's got blood all over him.
He finds like a police issue pool ball.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of pool balls in a sock, and he beats this guy up in custody. It's such a great introduction to his character.
But he beats him up because he was like
serious version of the introduction of Murphy in RoboCop.
Yeah. But like he beats the shit out of the guy, but the whole time he's like, if I hit you laying your hands on your wife and kid again, I'll fucking bury you. And let me tell you something about Ray Liotta.
So
Ray Liotta might be one of the most he probably can run the gamut from being like incredibly charming to one of the most menacing looking people
has he
you
ever
can imagine.
Been this big before? Because he is monstrous.
He's huge in this movie. Yeah,
he's like Russell Crowe in Nice Guys. Like he is like a fucking Hulk in this movie.
He is so good in this fucking movie.
He is
like
unbelievable.
It's like distracting because I'm so used to like late career fucking Ray Liotta now.
Phone it in, Ray Liotta. Like I compare this. Go ahead, Alex.
He's dead now, isn't he?
Yeah. I said it to Sean. Sean said he's so good, and I said, yeah, he sucks, but he sucks so bad now he's not even alive.
But yeah, really.
Thank you, Alex.
Hollywood was like, you know what?
Oh wow,
thumbs down.
Hollywood Caesar is like.
That's a great joke for an audio medium, by the way.
Yeah, well, the Romans will get it though. So, the
Roman contingent.
Yeah,
I feel like you mean ancient Romans?
Yeah, the ancient Romans. So
I don't know. I don't know what a movie is, but this show rocks.
They're right about Caesar. He loves
So how are we hearing this?
Have you heard these wizards that come out of the thing?
Yeah.
We should do
Yeah,
the
that's
show
weird.
in
You gonna
Latin.
suck my dick or what?
Yeah.
So, anywho,
Our show is used as an aphrodisiac in ancient Rome.
well,
Mm-hmm.
so, this movie's a two-hander, and both Jason Patrick and Ray Liotta in this movie are fucking phenomenal. I'll just say it.
We said this with Sleepers, but why didn't Jason Patrick become like the hugest actor? He's so fucking good.
The scene later in this movie where he's like shaking down the junkie, we'll get to it, is so goddamn good. And the last scene in this movie is so impossibly good by Jason Patrick that it is. Did he get nominated? He probably didn't get nominated for this, but he probably should have in 2002 because he is just decimating the scene.
Well, I don't know, because usually Alec does the behind-the-scenes stuff. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently they weren't going to release this movie theatrically, but Tom Cruise saw it and was like, no, we're doing it. And he paid to have it released in theaters. He gave him like $3 million or something.
I did notice during the credits, which I don't think I ever paid attention to, that Ray Liotta was a producer on this movie.
Well,
so that probably meant that, like, Carnahan was having a hard time getting this made, which is absurd.
I would never have noticed this until this movie, but Liotta and Patrick sound a lot alike. So if they're not on screen and one of them's talking, sometimes I was like, wait a minute, is that? Oh no, that's Patrick.
Yeah, they're both amazing. But anyway, so now Jason Patrick's been hooked up with Ray Liotta, and he's kind of learning. You know, you're introduced to, and this comes up later too. It's a very tight movie in this regard. So like they're at the firing range because now Jason Patrick's rusty. He hasn't been using a gun for 7 months, and so he's shooting. He's missing all over the place, and then you hear bop 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 right next door, and it's 6 shots all to the head, and that's Henry Oak. He's like, let's get some coffee or whatever he says, and they go and they kind of feel each other out, and Henry and Oak's kind of like, listen, before we go any further, are you IAD? Are you internal affairs? Because you just fucking tell me now. Because he knows he knows a loose cannon. He knows they're trying to bust him for whatever.
And everybody also knows that Jason Patrick has unceremoniously been removed from the force, so they're wondering why he's there.
Right. So he's suspicious, and it makes sense. But they're like, I'm here just because I want. He's like, I'm trying to clear my name. I don't give a shit about you. I'm not IAD. I just want to close this case so I can get a desk job back. And so they have like sort of a little bit of understanding of each other. So then they start going about solving the case. They're looking at files. They're trying to figure out what happened. They find out this guy, his name is Jimmy Fredericks, was his street name. His real name was Michael Calvez.
Michael Calvez, yeah.
They found him under an overpass, beat to shit with his head blown off, or a bullet in his head, killed. They don't know who did it. There's got no leads. There's this I found it initially jarring, but then I kind of liked it, where they broke the screen up into like quadrants and just shows them like a
I couldn't stand it.
Oh, really? I really liked it.
I didn't like it at first, then it grew on me.
No, I liked it, and I'll tell you why. Because those scenes are in a regular movie, like those take up way too much time, and I felt like this was like very much like you got the information you needed. It illustrated that what they were doing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, I get it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked how quick it was. Like, I thought that was very clever.
It shows up in other parts of the movie. I don't hate it as much, but it's like kind of jarring because it only happens once.
It just happens that one time.
That is fair. That's a fair point.
It's an interesting way to do this montage, though, and you can kind of, and the soundtrack kind of bounce. Like, I found myself
fantastic.
I found myself.
BT Dubs.
Oh, the soundtrack is tremendous. But I guess what I meant was the vocal track or whatever kind of bounces between the 4 screens. So like I found myself, because I was watching it on the projector, like, and it's like taking up all my vision, like moving my head around trying to match up where the actual what we were hearing happening where.
Right.
But then eventually it's kind of cool because it starts with 1 screen, then it branches out to 4, and they all change around, and then it kind of tightens back up to the one that actually gives them a lead, right? Yeah. And the lead is, okay, there's this drug dealer who's might have been an associate of his. This guy, what's his name, knew him from back in the Jason Patrick knew him from back in the day. Let's go check it out. All right, they go and fucking kick in his door, bust it up, look around. They find dude head exploded in a bathtub. And it's actually a really fun scene the way they put together like how they think they got here, because Jason Patric kind of pieces together that the guy didn't kill himself so much as he broke his bong when he was sitting in the bathtub and decided to pack the chamber of a Mossberg with weed and fire it up, and then that spent the loaded shell he was not aware of.
There was no like pin, right? Like
there was no pin.
You're our ballistics expert.
Right. There was no strike. There was no strike dimple on the shell, so the gunpowder just got hot and then fucking blew dude's teeth off. Or it was like taking a rip. But then you find out that this is a fucking police issue, fucking shotgun. And then they're like, maybe the file number's been sealed, the serial number's been filed off. And then Ray Liotta kind of takes over it and he's like, all right, let's call this in, blah, blah, blah. They call in the coroner kind of figures out what's up. So the movie continues to progress. And then Ray Liotta kind of reveals a little bit more about himself, and he kind of tells a backstory about, one time he was busting something, kind of like how he got to where he was. He talks about his wife.
Did anybody think about this scene when he talks about the little girl and all that? This was his Rorschach scene, right? Like, did anybody else think of that scene with the Rorschach, the flashback? With
it's also like loosely the inciting incident in what's the Casey Affleck movie Ben Affleck directed that's really good? Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone. Yeah.
Your games.
So he's talking. They're talking. Their
podcast is in my rear view.
They're sitting on a stakeout or something, and they're waiting for somebody. And they're like, all right, well, it's just they're bullshitting and chatting, I guess, like killing time. And they're talking about their families, whatever. And you find out Ray Liotta's wife passed away from cancer, and then how he was like. And this actually is a really good bit of like lore building, right? He's like, she died, and after that, I was like a different cop. Like I went through every door first. Basically, he had a death wish. Like I just want to, I don't give a shit anymore. I'll go and like he just became like a fucking renegade, like wild man. And he tells a story about it, came, somewhere, found somebody that was, some junkie finds out he's pimping out his 10-year-old daughter and how that changed him. And they get to peel him off him. Otherwise he's going to murder this guy and yada, yada, yada.
Like, so, I'll just say it before somebody else does. I know TJ thought this. I'm sure you guys probably thought it too. This is just a much better version of the movie Training Day, like in a lot of respects.
Yeah, no, well, it is, and it's and especially the way it ends, because well, we'll get to it.
Well, speaking of Rorschach, it kind of we'll get to it, but
so now we're sitting here trying to figure out, all right, who's who and what's on there. They're like, all right. Michael Patrick's, his wife and kid, his marriage. Excuse me, Jason Patrick. Excuse me. I think it's the cop.
Michael Scott. Oh my God, Michael Scott in this one.
Michael Scott. How the turntables. His wife is upset that he's out in the field doing stuff again, but he's coming obsessed because he needs to figure out how this thing's going down. You kind of get some flashbacks of when he was in deep cover, like he was like shooting heroin and smoking crack, and she had to like get him through detox. Like he was in a bad way. He's going through files and he finds out like at the scene of the crime, they find that like evidence of this weird mix of chemicals. He's like, I've seen that before. And he goes, and this is, Chekhov's bystander from the beginning, the guy who got fucking jammed in the neck by this, other junkie named Dowd or Dodd, had the same mix in him. And it's this weird, like, amalgam of drugs and heroin and battery acid
and heroin.
Yeah, light drugs plus heroin. That junkies shoot up when they can't get another fix, and there's only a couple people that cook it. And he's like, okay, well then let's run some names of who's been, let's see if we can figure out. They find out there's been 4 people that have been exposed to this stuff lately. So let's go. Oh, I know one of them. Let's go check it out. And you have this scene where they go to another junkie's house, kick the door in, kind of beat the shit out of him, toss the place. The guy gives him shit. I'm sorry. I skipped completely past a good scene, which was the very, very first scene, the very first criminal introduction. You got the guy whose dick is rotting off, and he lit his woman's hair on fire.
In my movie, that character is played by Sean.
Well, I was just going to mention, although I do enjoy this movie quite a bit, I'm going to go ahead and put it on Front Street. The people of color are played to the most people of colorist.
It's well, it's rough, and
there are
least,
people like this, right?
Well,
I get
no,
it.
No. That's not what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, at least Ray Liotta is painted as being awful and racist, so it's not as
but the problem is Jason Patric is also awful, and I think the movie is trying to get you there and understand it too. But the language of the movie also kind of portrays him as being the good cop, which is insane.
It's rough. Yeah, and you're right about that. Especially I don't know. There's towards the end when you get Busta Rhymes' character and that other, it's rough.
Also, shout out to Busta Rhymes. How good is?
Oh, he's really good.
He's really good in this.
Portrayal, I think, is meant in the story to be taken as he is also a bad person, but it's not as explicit as it needs to be for a movie that's not really subtle in any other way. You know what I mean?
Well, I think.
No, I agree.
Here's the thing. I thought we'll get into it later, but I kind of took them both. They're both bad cops, but they're both products of their environment, and they're varying degrees of bad cops.
Because even they're like, oh, we don't give a fuck. We got somebody. Let's just lock it up. And then it's no, we didn't get the right guy. And really, we'll find out why he's so concerned with them getting the right guy. But
I think this is you look at the void and the void looks back at you kind of movie, because both of them have been in there too deep, and I think honestly, I think it's one of the few parts of the movie that I think is kind of underwritten. I mean, it's in there, but I think Patrick's character is doesn't know how to reconnect with being a regular person anymore, because he was so deep. And it's touched on a little bit, but I feel it's not. To me, I feel they needed a little bit more seasoning.
Well, the Hurt Locker explored that sort of same thing. But the same as you can't. He's been institutionalized in this sort of way.
And I think
Donnie Brasco was another one. But
I think this
are kind of about that. And I think this movie,
The Departed.
The Departed. But I think this movie is too much of a very good cop drama to also be this psychological examination. It just doesn't have room for it.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So anyway, there's that first guy. They turn him on to the guy who blows his brains off. Then they're okay, well now we know this other guy because of the weird poison he was shooting. So they go they beat him up. The guy talks shit. They toss his house. They find a badge, a police badge of a slain officer. And then they turn their back on this guy for half a second. He pops up, fires shots at him, catches Jason Patric in the neck. Ray Liotta unloads on him, dude's greased. And then that is where you get Jason Patric recovering. His wife can't deal with this. And then the department's good, case closed. We got him. The guy's he's a felon. He's got blah, 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 blah. He's shown willingness to kill police officers. This is it. And then Ray Liotta's you want this to be it because it's clean. It's over. Ray Liotta from day one is they don't give a shit about Michael Calvez. I care about Michael Calvez. They just want this off the books. And he says as much and conveniently you can pin it on this white guy because now there won't be a race riot in Detroit. Yeah. So
there's also a scene too. I don't know I think we passed it already. That's kind of pertinent. They actually kind of got me with it. There's a part where Jason Patric goes to interview the widow of the cop.
Yeah. Good scene.
Has that not happened yet?
No, that did happen earlier.
It already happened. Yeah.
So,
and Ray Liotta comes in, and you hear his voice, so you know it's him, and he's picking up the kids, and hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah. So and then he freaks out. But now I think the movie does a good job. Maybe I'm just dumb. Is that I took it as he was fucking that woman, and they're setting him up to kill. Oh, okay. Then I was just
I never took. I always took it as it was too paternal.
Well,
it was too. Yeah,
I took it. I thought initially that I thought that he was definitely involved with the murder somehow, but he was trying to cover it up for their sake or something, which is kind of what happened.
Real quick, have you seen this before, TJ?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I saw this this is one of those fucking
edgy young man DVDs.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I bought this. You guys remember when Blockbuster used to do their 3 for $15?
Oh yeah.
This was one of those I bought. And
Alec, had you seen this before?
No.
Okay. So what did you actually? I'm curious. What did you think at this point in the movie?
It's at this point in the movie, or the whole movie.
At this point in the movie, how did you read that scene with Ray Liotta showing up at the house?
I didn't read anything sexual into it.
I thought it was. I mean, I personally thought it was way too paternal, way too
Sean's
involved with the
very
kids.
horny.
I'm very horny, just like Richard Corbin. No, because in a dumber movie, that's the setup, right?
Oh,
Leo's fucking this woman, and they're trying to get the fucking the pension, so he shoots.
They're trying to get him out of the way, right?
Yeah,
right. That's a very cheap version of this movie.
Sean's
You're right.
so horny his stomach hurts.
Did you say Richard Corbin, or did you mean Richard Dawson?
No, I meant Richard Corbin.
Well, I mean Richard Dawson.
The comic book artist.
I mean Richard Dawson, host of Family Feud, who is also notoriously horny.
First of all, I'm familiar with all Richards. Let's put that out on Front Street.
Real dick lover.
So yeah, he does interview the widow, and then there's a scene where basically Rio's like, you don't fucking talk to her without talking to me first. She's been through too much, whatever. He sells it. It's great. So now they're like, case closed, whatever. And then after that scene that I skipped over that Sean brought up, thank you very much. He goes on to his new age laptop for 2002 and uses a program or an operating system that ceases to exist to look up this woman and find her records, and they've been sealed away and locked up or whatever. So he calls in some favors. So later, these records now finally show up, and he kind of connects some dots. But now, at the same time, miraculously, Ray Liotta's got a tip on some people that look like it would connect more dots to the actual killers. So they go to this old rundown auto body shop, and this is where the third act happens. And the third act is amazing. So they show up. They're like, listen, these guys, here's what we're going to do. We'll get in. We'll bust them up. We'll see what's going on. They infiltrate this place.
They went in full bore. They were like tactical geared fucking shotguns.
Oh yeah, like Ray Liotta's got like a shotgun with like a 9 tube on it. And
the fucking tension that he ends up that he builds through this scene just from how it's kind of interesting because the scene before they're like, all right, we're gonna go check this place out, and then they pull the car up and they're going in the back and they're loading all these guns.
Oh, it was like when Danny Glover fucking unloaded his trunk in Predator 2 to walk into the meat locker.
It was fucking wild.
Well, also this is the point where Ray Liotta, this is everything's getting ready to come to fruition for him. He's got everything in place.
He's finally getting revenge for his boy.
We might have skipped over this, but there's also a montage before this where Patrick has found stuff, but you're not sure what he found.
He's Pelican briefing real quick. Yeah. So they go there. These scenes are both incredibly loud and phenomenally quiet at the same time. They're slinking through. Busta Rhymes is listening to himself. Another guy.
Yeah, I did notice that right away.
Sick.
Another guy. I mean, I would be doing that. Another guy's taking a leak. They fucking bust these two dudes up. There's this crazy scene where Ray Liotta shotguns a dude in a urinals or in a bathroom, the Uranus, and then that causes Busta Rhymes to turn off his own fat jams. And then Jason Patrick kind of peeks his head around the corner and gets met with a hail of Uzi fire. And because Jason Patrick's a fucking real one, he keeps chasing after this guy, fucking blasts him on a rooftop. They drag him back in, handcuff him together.
Jason Patrick has the hilarious thing of saying, don't move, when he gets immobilized and shot on the ground.
Right. So they're hooked together like Henry Jones Jr. and Henry Jones Sr., and then they start having a little, here's what we're going to do. You're going to confess. We're going to tell you what happened. Here's how it went down. We're going to shake this place. They start tearing the place apart. They beat the fuck out of both. These guys have been beaten to ever living shit. They look like hamburger, right?
This was especially tough to watch given recent
the current political climate.
Wow.
So they flip the place. They find a trunk full of guns, like police issue guns, all sorts of guns. And then Ray Liotta comes up with Michael Calves's gun, and they're like, "This is his fucking gun. You guys fucking did this. I fucking
knew it."
It's in
a bag.
It's in a bag.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no. So then Patrick's trying to like, all right, let's call it in. Let's get it done. And he said, no, we need to get a confession out of these fuckers. He's like, all right, well, go look. You got to. And the whole time, Busta Rhymes and his buddy are like, we didn't do it, man. You're gonna fucking kill us, man. You didn't do it. we didn't do it. This is not fucking right, man. And they're doing shit like, this ain't right, man. Just take us in, man. And it's fucking.
And I think at one point, don't they say some shit like, you know what happened, or something like
yeah, like you were there, you know what happened, like that sort of shit.
Also, it just to illustrate, if you haven't seen it, like, Ray Liotta is going like even harder than before, and like Jason Patric has to get in the middle of it and be like, stop. Like,
he is repeatedly pistol whipping these fellas.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, and then he separates them. He says like he's gonna go out to the car or whatever, but he just needs more time. Ray Liotta, that is, goes out to the car, and then that's when Jason Patric's brain starts twirling, and
so Jason Patrick locks the door and he's like, tell me what really fucking happened, and then you are given, you're told the tale of what really happened under that underpass. You find out Michael Calves was strung out beyond belief. He was in too deep. He was calling Busta Rhymes all the time for junk, and he would give him guns. He would give him the names of other undercover cops. You find out that Michael Calves ratted out Jason Patric, and the reason that he had that shootout that ruined his career and killed those bystanders was because Michael Calves had told this other junkie that he was an undercover cop.
Yeah.
You find out he was selling guns. He's doing all this shit that they were on this underpass. Calves started acting crazy, started to pull a gun on him. They beat him up, but they ran away and got shot at. And the one dude got caught in the net, because there's a great part where he's like, and then they said Oak was there, and Oak saw it. Oak started chasing him down and started shooting at him. He's like, hold up, Oak was shooting at you and you're alive? Because we know he's a fucking crack shot. And they're like, yeah, he got me. And it shows a scar on his neck from where he got winged. So now Jason Patric's like, fuck, all right. And so eventually he gets out, or no, he goes outside. So Oak's beating on him.
And at this point, the Busta Rhymes and the other guy are saying that Oak shot Calves. Yes.
So Jason Patric opens up the door, confronts Oak. He's like, telling him what's going on. Oak fucking pistol whip. No, is this the part where he reveals that, like, listen, that girl, Michael Calves' wife, was the little girl from the closet you saved that you tried to support? Yes. And he was strung out. He was a junkie. He was a failure. He was letting you down. So you fucking killed him. They had all this confrontation. Fucking, Ray Liotta cracks him with a goddamn shotgun butt, leaves him for dead effectively, and then goes in to go finish the job because he wants to get this confession. Jason Patric breaks into the squad car, or their undercover car, grabs another gun, comes in, and basically saves these two dudes by blasting Oak. And then he runs up on him. And this scene is beautiful and sad and tragic. The way he runs up on him and he's like, don't you leave me like this. You got to tell me I'm right. You got to tell me what happened, because he needs to justify that he killed this man. He's like, you fucking killed him because he was strung out on junk and you couldn't deal with it. That's why you killed him. That's why me killing you is okay.
I got to reiterate how good Liotta is in this fucking scene.
How good both of them are in this scene.
So intense, like, oh my God.
And so you see just Liotta's like lips whispering or do whatever, and then you're treated the flashback of finally what really happened. And what really happened was them
possibly.
It's very Rashomon. That is true. You know what, Sean? I guess that's a good point. That also could be not what actually happened too.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. But we find out that all that stuff went down. Calves got beat up by Busta Rhymes and his associate. Oak was there. Calves shot at them. Oak's trying to get him cleaned up. He's like, listen, man, we got to get you help. We got to get you out of here. You're in too deep, whatever. And then you treat a scene of Michael Calves blowing his own brains out. And then the sorrow that Ray Liotta shows in this scene, the way he cries over the body is.
Well, there's a like a little thing that I like. There's a little pinch that I like. So first, before you find out that Calves shot himself, you hear Ray Liotta say they won't give the family anything.
Right.
And I think at that point, I thought they meant like if he was a junkie or whatever, like they wouldn't pay for it. But then it goes even further and you find out that Calves killed himself and you're like, oh, fuck. Like that's what I was talking about earlier, where it's like a sad story becomes even sadder because it's just like this guy.
But here's the thing. The Liotta in the retelling where he's like, I'm sorry I didn't get here sooner.
Yeah.
And it's tragic and it's beautiful, but then you're left with Jason Patric's sort of shocked reaction, and you realize that this like dictaphone or whatever has been recording the whole thing, and then the movie just ends, right? So you don't know whether. So there's a couple ways this could go, right? And then you get this.
I forget who mentioned
Jason.
Rorschach earlier. I'm sorry, and it's kind of the way Watchmen ends, where it's like you're not sure, like they have the material, you don't know who gets it, you don't know if anything ever happens, and I think it's like a really, really kind of ballsy way to end the movie.
Right, because Jason Patrick could sell it all out and ruin this family's life, or Jason Patrick could be introspective and go, listen, me pinning all this on Oak doesn't do anything bad because it doesn't ruin anything in Oak's life and would just make him the murderer, Michael Calvez, and then no one else knows the difference but me, but I know that family with those two kids will still be able to survive.
I think a lesser movie has him selling out Oak, and then he lives with the, like, burden of, like, his lie. But, like, I'm glad they don't do that.
Right,
like,
it could be, but you don't know which way it's going to go. All you know is all you're left with is the weight.
And he could still pin it on the other two, to be perfectly honest. Because
but all you're left
cops, you've already found out the cops don't give a fuck. Like, they just want
and the cops also get those guys, too. They're pulling up as they're hopping away, still bound together in a chair.
Yeah.
Right, but, like, you're left, the way that the movie ends, but you're left with just that realization on Jason Patrick's face and, like, the weight of what comes next, and you'll never know it, I think is brilliant.
Yeah,
I think it's fucking absolutely wonderful. That's fucking narc. The movie goes, like, impossibly hard.
I agree.
I might have talked myself up a whole point in just reflecting on it, so.
This movie is so fucking good. Like, for what's like a very like kind of bog standard cop movie, it's not doing anything like really fucking like out of left field, but it's just so well put together.
I think the script is so fucking good, and that's what I was saying earlier. Where I like Joe Carnahan, like I've liked The Gray, and I liked a couple of his other movies. And I like 85% of Smoking Aces. But, like, he's never done anything like this, like, even close. Like, I don't even, like, there's nothing close to this. Like, it's kind of wild to me. Also, to get back to the production of this briefly, so he could not get this made. Like, he shopped this around everywhere. Film studios told him that no one cares about cop dramas anymore. And Ray Liotta is the one that saw it and was like, this is a quote, "I was looking for a movie that had some impact or at least make some cash," Liotta said. So he's the one that met with Carnahan, and that's why he produced it. So he was a big part of even getting this movie off the ground. Also, they were going to make a TV show of this, but nothing ever came of it. It was 2014. They were in development for a Paramount show. I don't know what the fuck that would have looked like.
In 2014, it probably would have starred that dude who ended up playing Sherlock.
Yeah. I don't know. I like that guy.
In the other role, they would have cast, I don't know, a woman or a black man
or trans black woman.
Or they would have made him that was that in the boom where everybody had like a disability.
Oh yeah.
Like all the cop shows, like they had like deaf cops and blind cops.
What was the thing? What's the joke in I Love You Man?
Ranch Pops.
Or is it I Love You Man? It was Forgetting Sarah Marshall with the dog whisperer cop and that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's Forgetting Sarah Marshall because that's her.
Because
that's the thing at the end. She's but it's not the dog whisperer. It's like the dog psychic or something like that.
But that was her later show. Her first show was like Blind Justice, right? She was like a blind cop.
What was that cop show where the guy had long shot powers? Do you remember that? Like he was just like supernaturally lucky, and I think it ran for like 3 years.
Fuck. What was it called? And it starred D.B. Sweeney.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Fox. Fuck, I remember that. It was so stupid. Like, literally, it was just, he was lucky. Fuck, oh, damn it, Sean. That's gonna kill me now.
So,
anyway, let's get back to the movie. I'm gonna look up this show for
doing a little more digging. So this movie came out in 2002.
D.B. Sweeney, everybody.
Yeah, that hashtag. We'll have one post.
The cutting edge.
Topic. So
I'm proud of all our deep knowledge on fucking the cutting edge.
So this movie came out in 2002, right? Here's the 2002 Oscars, just because I was trying to figure out what was going on. Gangs in New York came out in 2002. The Two Towers came out in 2002. The Pianist, which people loved, I never saw it. Came out in 2002. I mean, it was a very strong year for like artsy and big movies.
That's not even the best Harvey Keitel penis movie.
True.
Yep. Catch Me If You Can, Adaptation, Road to Perdition, all these are 2002 movies.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of got lost in the sauce there.
The show Sean was talking about was called Strange Luck.
Jesus Christ.
That's not even a good title.
It ran for one season on Fox.
Wow, not very lucky.
How the fuck do both of us remember a show that lasted for one season?
Because the premise is fucking absurd.
In 1995.
Somebody wrote that, and somebody was like, yeah, I'll write you a big check to make this. Like, I'm stupid.
I don't know if you guys remember fucking Fox dramas back then, but they were just spaghetti against the wall. Like, they got X-Files, and then it was just like, whatever. Whatever, guys.
I feel like Alec mentions it at least once a year as Fastlane, the fucking,
the cop show?
Peter Fanicelli and Bill Bellamy.
Also, do you guys remember Millennium with Lance Hendrickson?
Oh, I remember Millennium.
That was the companion piece of the X-Files. That was like the fucking Love and Rockets to X-Files is like, I don't know, whatever, X-Men. Like, it's like, oh yeah, if you're cool, you watch Millennium.
Dude, I think.
But I also had the lone gunman.
The lone gunman, yeah. Oh god.
Which was like those three nerds.
Yeah. The parts of the X-Files that no one wanted, like, where's Scully and Mulder? Oh, we got you some nerds. Like, oh, great.
I think, so I'm looking him up. D.B. Sweeney looks like Paul Rudd's Dorian Gray, like how Paul Rudd's ageless, all of his years have gone to D.B. Sweeney, because they started looking the same.
That's fucking hysterical. That's a movie right there.
That's a great comparison, guys. All right, sorry.
So anyway,
D.B.
Sweeney.
Way to take us off the rails, D.B. Sweeney.
D.B. Sweeney is somewhere going, what the fuck? Like,
this is the most his name has been said on the internet in 2 decades. They didn't have the internet when D.B. Sweeney was relevant.
Mr. Sweeney, somebody used you in a hashtag, sir.
Somewhere else, C. Thomas Howell's like, when's it going to be my time to shine? When are they going to start talking about fucking Side Out?
Gwen and Stacy. Was that him?
Max Vine's Side Out.
Gwen and Stacy.
Yeah,
Gwen and Stacy?
Wasn't that, that was a show on Fox?
It was Gavin and Stacy. Gavin and Stacy?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, continue, guys. Jesus Christ.
All right. So, anywho,
that was the worst version of Dharma and Greg.
Join us on our new podcast. Remember
naming TV shows.
Yeah. Tonight on Fox.
No criticism or no in-depth discussion. We're just naming premises.
To bring it all back around, the guy who was the male lead in Dharma and Greg ended up on that show, The Pretender, where he was a super genius and he had the skills of everybody, and every week one week he was a race car driver, and then one week he was like a NASA scientist solving crimes around the world.
Wow.
Nobody remembers The Pretender? Okay.
I do, because that was like that was a remake. That show was in the 80s also.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I remember that Foo Fighters song.
Wasn't there also a New Mutants character with like goggles that had that same power set where he could just do whatever everybody else was an expert in?
Talking about Shatterstar?
Yes, dogs. I'm talking about Shatterstar, who definitely wore goggles. No, he was like a black teenager. He was like the leader of like that version of the New Mutants where they had the winged girl and like.
Yeah, I can't remember I know who you're talking about. It was I think his name was Prodigy.
That's it. Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
He was the Twisted Firestarter.
Welcome to our spin-off show. Remember that TV show with what is that vague X-Men character?
Well, anyway,
and the ultimate podcast when we never answer these questions, we just immediately go to
it just spins it into another question, and then they all end with mutant prostitute Stacy X, because I feel like that's a weird point of reference for all of us.
Also,
yeah.
So, Alec, you haven't said much during this. What did you think about this with it being your first viewing?
I definitely didn't love it as much as you guys did. I'm not super into the really dark, gritty, filthy, drug-infested cop dramas. It doesn't do it for me like it does for the rest of you. I mean, it wasn't bad, Like, I could recognize that it's a really good movie. It just wasn't in my lane.
Mm.
In the beginning, really turned, like, I literally, no joke, it was playing for 5 seconds and I had to turn it off because I felt sick.
It's a very jarring opening scene.
That's when I texted you. I was like, I can't. If the whole movie
like this? Yeah.
is like this, like, I can't. Like, I'm not even going to finish it.
It's not, thankfully. Really.
Thank God.
Yeah,
like, that wasn't even like shaky cam. That was like purposefully try to give somebody a seizure.
Yeah. Well, it's even worse too because it does it for like 20 seconds, and it stops for a second, and then it goes back to it for
you recalibrate, and then you're like, oh, God damn it. But I can see why people love it and why you guys like it. It just wasn't my thing.
It is hard to really get down with, like, again, current climate, but really the same climate it's always been, just with more video of it.
It's funny because
at least it doesn't really lionize cops. Like,
well, I mean, I feel like this is kind of an anti-cop movie, right? Because all the cops are shitty. Like, the higher up cops are terrible because they just want shit to go away, and then you got the cops that are doing shit. And they're awful. Like, they're just like, Ray Liotta's like flat out like, I'm just going to break every rule because I don't give a fuck. Because I'm right.
He says it. Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, and I do agree with you. I think the movie on paper probably does, but in practice, I don't think they make Patrick a unlikable enough character. I think they try, but I don't think it works. Like, I think that he needs to do something that's like more reprehensible or something. Like, I know, like, he, again, in the language of the movie, they're trying to say that he's like a part of him is lost to his job. Yeah. But I don't think it's really illustrated well enough. Like, I think it's there, but I also agree with what you said, where I don't know where you'd put that in the movie. Like, the movie is already very brisk, so like, I see it as a problem, but I also understand why.
Because you risk dragging the movie down, like, cause it's what, an hour 40?
Right. Yeah. It's quick. That's one thing I will say. Like, I like the pacing of this movie.
And this is probably a stupid thing to say because all movies rely on performances pretty much. But this movie especially, without these two, like, really brilliant kind of virtuoso performances, would not work almost at all.
I was thinking the whole time, like, if somebody else was in either one of these roles, like, it would just suck. Like, I don't know, I was thinking of, like, for some reason, like a late era Russell Crowe just cashing a paycheck
I was thinking of, what was the movie Gogs mentioned last week? The Paul Walker Running Scared. Oh, yeah. Like, it could very easily be that kind of movie.
Yeah. Because both of these actors take it very seriously. Like,
they're leaving it all on the field,
and everybody does. Like, even the supporting cast, I think they did a really good job. So, anything else? We've talked a lot about this movie. We interrupted you many, many times, but I think we got everything out that we wanted to say. So let's get into Five Knuckle Shuffle. Sean.
It's a 9 for me in a weird way because this is one of the few movies where I think, even though this is a very, very good movie, obviously, I think there's an even better movie to be made, but I don't know what it is, and it also might be 3 hours long.
Well, it's funny because they said that TV show, maybe that could have been that. That could have maybe gotten into all the nooks and crannies the movie didn't.
Yeah, but if it turns into like a Brian Michael Bendis decompressed thing, maybe I don't like it as much, so it's hard to say. Fair. But just going back to what we were talking about earlier with like the kind of examination of Jason Patrick as a human being, like, I would love to see that because I think the script's really good, but I also don't want it to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. So maybe it just drags it down too much. So I don't know. But beyond that, man, the movie looks great, even with that fucking blue filter over top of it. Like, it never gets into that fucking, like, soggy middle. Even 7 to a point has a soggy middle of the detective work. And it's like, I don't care specifically. I don't need them fighting with even when they fight with the brass, that scene is 2 minutes? And then they're right back into it. There's not that 25 minutes of them farting around at home, eating Chinese food, staring off into space or whatever. They just go right back immediately into what they were doing. So this is really, really, really solid movie. Like, I give it a 9. Alec.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Nice.
Like,
That's a respectable score for a movie you don't like.
well,
Like you
I'm gonna
don't
say,
love.
like personally, like in a vacuum, if I just watched this
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have to rate it for a show, it'd probably be much lower. Just thinking of it from my point of view, but I can understand why. I mean, there have been plenty of movies on the show that I think, like I've said, they're definitely not my cup of tea, but I can understand why people like it and why it's held in such high regard. Just not my thing, man.
Respect though.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody likes different things.
That's right. Dogs likes all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about anime all the time.
Damn right.
Peanut butter up my ass and popsicles in my mouth.
That's right.
Up your ass?
Yeah, hell yeah.
This seems like it'll be difficult.
Well, I'll write you a manual.
Okay.
Draw it for me.
TJ?
Give me one of those like
Like an IKEA instructional.
no, what's that like
Like
internet that like site that has like the weird I forget what it's called. It's like
Hey, remember that
WikiHow
website?
or something.
Oh yeah.
You're the man now, dog?
TJ, that's my name. I give this a 9 also, dog. It's a 9 for me, dog. I really like this movie a lot. I love, just to piggyback on what Sean said, like, the blue filter doesn't bother me because the movie is, like, cold in every way possible. Like, the setting is cold, the characters are cold. Like, I think it's kind of brilliant, actually. Like, it thematically works, like, really well. And you can tell, like, it wasn't done for just, like, oh, every movie looks like this nowadays. Like, this seems, like, very purposefully, like, this is trying to be, like, a hard-boiled 70s cop movie, like a Serpico or something like that. And, like, I don't know, like, it's one thing where, a lot of directors, I talk about Ty West a lot, because he's a director that, like, wears his influences on his sleeve, but he doesn't do anything with them. Like, you can tell what Carnahan's influenced by, but, like, he does the best with it, right? Like, I think, like, this movie is fucking brilliant, and, the only sad thing is that I want the alternate universe where Joe Carnahan kept making, like, this kind of movie. Like, it's something I'll always think about, but a million years ago, he leaked this, like, test reel that he did, that he pitched to somebody, I guess New Line at the time, where he wanted to make a Daredevil movie, but he wanted to make, like, the 1970s, like, fucking dirty New York, Hell's Kitchen, Frank Miller Daredevil movie. And I'm like, yeah, give me that. Like, I want to see that. Like, that, nom. Gimme. But I love this movie. I've loved this movie for a long time. I personally think this is one of the best cop dramas, like, ever made. Like, I don't think that's hyperbole. Like, I think this is absolutely incredible. And I love, like, this kind of like, fiction. Like, I love the crime dramas. I love the cop drama stuff. Like, I think this is top tier stuff. And again, I said it throughout the show, but the two main performances are so fucking good. And especially Leota, because Leota, it's just been so bad in so many movies. And, like, I forgot when he actually, like, you can tell, like, he wanted to make this movie, and you can tell, like, he was really passionate about it because his performance just shines through. But yeah, it's a 9 for me, dog. It's fantastic. It's not without its faults. Again, some of the editing choices are kind of regrettable. And I think some of the plot is underdeveloped, but overall, it's a fantastic movie. Ugh, excuse me.
Super gory too.
Yes, absolutely.
Very wet. Yeah.
And the blood and stuff is just like, it's very grounded, and even like the shootouts feel like way more like real.
They're
than
heavy.
like movie shootouts.
Dude, when that guy takes it in the beam, you feel it. It's like, oof. And it's in like soft focus, and it's just a very interesting way to do it.
There's a sequence towards the very end when Ray Liotta is literally threatening to kill those guys if they don't give the confession, where he's just firing his that revolver, like, next to their heads. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my fucking god!
How tense is the scene where Ray Liotta's just beating the fuck out of the door? Like, open the fucking door!
Oh yeah, it's fucking nuts. And anyway, it's such and I don't know, when I watched it, I thought he was gonna find another way around and get in. And somehow Jason Patrick opening the door and confronting him it makes the scene even more tense. Like, I don't know, man. This movie is a fucking masterpiece. Like, it's really, really fucking good. I know Carnahan's onto his more like sillier stuff. Like, I love Boss Run. I liked A-Team. I know certain people in this show didn't.
Yeah, I'll die on the Smoking Aces hill even with the ending.
Yeah, Smoking Aces is fine. I mean, but like it's not this, right? Like, it's just kind of like sad. But
I guess The Gray is the closest, but it's still like,
I mean, The Gray it's a goofy movie.
Yeah.
It's a good
he's out there
movie.
punching wolves.
It's a good movie. I like that movie a lot. But it's not this. It's not.
No.
Yeah. He's never gotten back to this, unfortunately. But, anyway. Gogs, I think you're the last man standing.
Yeah, so I, true to form, reflecting on it, talked myself up a whole point. I'm giving this banger a 10. When it first came on, so I watched this movie as a young man and remembered liking it. There's certain parts of this movie that lived rent-free in my head for decades, namely when Jason Patrick's confronting the one guy. He's talking about the junk, calling it a real mean mix. All the bits about a lot of his lines. Talking about you were sniffing glue so much they had to drill your navel cavities open.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, like the bits where and the parts.
That scene does a really good job establishing his time undercover without having to do anything.
Right. It just builds a world in like 10 sentences, and it's amazing. The performances are, as we said, amazing. Like they're wonderful. Jason Patrick's bringing his best stuff. Ray Liotta's bringing his best stuff. I think we touched on it, but I think it needs to be like spotlighted a little bit more. Busta Rhymes and the other gentleman in the last scene in this movie they are doing amazing work. Like, you are there with them. You are terrified for them. You don't know if they're lying or not. And here's the thing about this movie. This movie's so fucking good that I remember, like, I knew that Oak, because I'd seen this movie. I knew Oak was part of it, but I'd forgotten kind of how. And it had me on, oh yeah, he killed him. That's right, what happened. And then it even gut punched me yet again with the reveal that Calvez killed himself, and just the amount of emotion I went through in like the last 10 minutes of this film was worth the price of admission. This movie is fucking great. Coast to coast, like butter and toast. The thing's fucking a banger. If you like gritty cop movies, this is you couldn't ask for better in 2002, quite frankly. And you're right, TJ, he never got back to this, which is a shame, because you can see what he's capable of. Joe Carnahan can, because like that was that one movie he made, Cop World, which I heard was just awful.
Yeah, I heard it was really
Cop Land is another very underrated banger. Like, that movie's actually really good.
That movie's good.
Yeah, that movie's great.
But like this movie fucking rules, and it's intense, and I don't know, man. He put on a clinic. I loved it, and this is making 2023, at least as far as Movie the Podcast is concerned, a very strong opening salvo. Breaking 2 notwithstanding. I'm sorry, guys, but what's interesting, just before we close everything up, is that usually when a guy gets, like, this was his breakout movie, right? And usually, like, people kind of live off of what broke them out, but it's weird that he never returned to this at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, he always went sillier. He went big action, but he never really went back to this much drama. It's probably, Sean said it to me, analog, but he's probably right. Like, this movie did well for what it was. Again, I think they made this movie for like $6 million. What? Or something. Go ahead. You alright, Al?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Al? Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm just tired.
Oh, okay.
But, I feel like this is kind of like an Adam Wingard situation where, like, he made his salt on these independent movies, but then big studios started offering him, like, huge pictures, and he's probably like, fuck it, like, I'll make A-Team, I'll probably make $30 million doing it. Yeah. You know? But anyway, yeah, between this Ghostbusters 2 and Strange Days and 8 and 2 10s, like, things are going good. Oh, yeah. And yeah. I have a pick for next week, but I need a ruling. If
what?
What is it?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
That's absolutely
Yeah,
a buddy
absolutely.
cop movie.
That's my pick.
1,000%.
Okay. Well, Eddie
Yeah, but
Valiant's
I'm
a
gonna-
private detective, so.
I'm going to overrule you for next week with my birthday pick. We're going to watch Jupiter Ascending.
Oh,
yeah.
no. Oh, God. That's all right, Gogs. You can still have.
Cut
like
to Alec
Ukraine.
sitting there and barely eating his banana kaboom, watching Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, this is like a pretty selfless pick for you there, Alec.
Yeah.
This movie is like 3 hours long.
I've seen it.
Oh, you've already seen it. Okay.
Yeah, I remember not thinking it was terrible.
Ooh,
All
it's
right.
gonna be one of the famous weird movie the podcast splits.
I've seen like a quarter of it and I fell asleep, so I don't know.
I've never seen it. So.
I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to watch it. It's I still hilariously it was like what, a 1,300 page script that they pared down to like
It was 900 pages. And also one of the few movies to have a what do you call it, like a cameo director in
Terry
it, where Terry
Gilliam,
Gilliam
right?
directs like 20 minutes of it for no reason.
Very weird. All right, so next week, Jupiter Ascending. We've talked about this movie for years now. So
Yep.
God, is somebody going to pick...
Start watching it now.
What's that other movie that they did with Tom Hanks?
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas. Is somebody going to pick that at some point?
Cloud Atlas shrugged.
Somebody should pick it for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to dealing with the racial problems that movie has.
Hugo Weaving is a Korean guy?
Yeah, Hugo Weaving in yellow face.
Isn't Tom Hanks a black guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Rough.
It's just like that Paul Mooney bit. It's like the last black dude on earth starring Tom Hanks.
All right, everybody. That's the show. Jupiter Ascending next week. Can't wait.
Narc, certified good ass movie.
Certified good ass movie.
Certified good ass movie. Put it on the Blu-ray cover. All right. Bye, everybody.
Good night, boys.
Later.